There are very few people that I have come across, and more so in the Air Force, who inspire with decency, with a strong set of values, who believe in what they say, and have a faith in what they do, and are deeply passionate about whatever they do. But today I have a guest who is just not a colossus, but is an inspiration to people across ages. Age does not define him. At 92, his work does. He continues tirelessly because he believes in what he does and does what he believes in. This morning, it is my privilege and honor to have as my guest a Vice Marshal Daya Shankar Mishra, who also happens to be the first technical officer in our series of talks. Welcome, sir, and thank you for agreeing to talk to the Canberra Bomber Association. So now, just to tell our viewers exactly how we have crossed paths. Not too long ago, I was given information that we had a very senior Air Vice Marshal ensconced in Jabalpur, not exactly Jabalpur, but far out of Jabalpur, in the outskirts, living on a sprawling farmhouse. I got very interested and I asked the gentleman who introduced me to you, that is Wing Commander Seshadri, through his son-in-law Gaurav. And what really surprised me was that when I asked you for a write-up, you gave me a detailed write-up with a lot of pictures and with a lot of information, and I thought this should be my starting point. In fact, when I read through it, I felt that this called for my personal intervention and meeting, and finally this interview. So welcome once again, and at the outset, since we have a long innings ahead, what really prompted you to join the Air Force and how did it go about?
It's really a very interesting question, and I have an amusing answer to your question. I'll try to be brief, but let us see. My early childhood ambition was to become a doctor. Having participated in 1942 Quit India movement, I could not pursue education in any government institution. The only place where I could take refuge was Banaras University. So I was there. And I found that there was no medical college there. I was disappointed. So the next thing that I settled for was mechanical electrical engineering. That's the top college, Banaras College. When I was in the final year, my next door neighbor in the hostel was Ashwani Kumar Sani. His elder brother was a flyer in the Air Force, and he used to talk about him. And he was himself very keen to join the Air Force. That time, a new scheme had been introduced to take direct commission to technical officers called the DEO scheme. Ashwani Kumar wanted to apply for that. We could apply while we were in the final year, and the interview could take place after the results were out. He wanted to me apply for that, but I said no bid. He put in 2 applications, and one he signed for me and told me about it, and I forgot about it when we passed the examination. Before I could find a job for myself, I found that I was married. It was an arranged marriage. After, when it was time to find a job, I got one with the MP Electricity Board, thermal power station, Kapukhara near Nagpur, where I could use my mechanical as well as electrical engineering knowledge. I'd hardly spent a couple of months when I got a letter calling me for interview at the Air Force Selection Board Air Headquarters. I was surprised. Then I recollected, oh yes, Ashwani Kamal had put in an application for me also. So I said, let's go. I was already too late because the letter was directed from my home village. I went there. He said, let's go and see the Qutub Minar. I was very casual. I attended the interview and all that they had. And I think the only thing that impressed me was that I was a sportsman. I was my university blue holder in sports and aquatics. They also asked me this question, why do you want to join the Air Force? So I told them, instead of telling them that I want to serve the country and this thing and that, the truth was that I wanted a job. And if Air Force could give me one, well, welcome. Then I went back home, discussed with my wife, sorted her opinion. We said, as you like. But then she suggested it would be a clean life. You would have time for games and sports. So I say yes to it.
So then, yes, you were commissioned finally in January 51. Now, jet fighters were quite new in the continent, and your first posting was to BRD, to overall Vampire aircraft. Can you share a few thoughts on working on the latest technology of that time? Very briefly, sir.
Well, number one, BRD, the only BRD at that time, did the overall for the entire inventory of the Air Force, or except Dakota, which was done by HAL. So I was lucky that I was put to various overall shops, and ultimately Harjinder Singh, Captain Harjinder Singh, my boss, who had taken me as a blue-eyed boy for many things, he gave me an opportunity to work as number 2, Vampire and Goblin overall. Later on, I took independent charge and I enjoyed it.
So you would have been a pilot officer then?
Yes, pilot officer.
And you mentioned about Group Captain Harjinder Singh, later AVM. Can you share a few thoughts? And also, he flew a Spitfire for his meetings. Was that his private project?
Well, I could write a book on Harjinder Singh. Some people have already written. He is a legend, rising from a Hawaii Sipai to the highest technical position, a man of great ingenuity, a great leader, a great manager.
So, can we go to the next question, sir? Now, you were posted to 6th Squadron on Liberators.
About the Spitfire.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you can continue, please.
Yes. As a technical officer, he managed to get wings. And since all kinds of aircraft were there for storage, Spitfire was one type. He was very keen on it. So he used to fly Spitfire, Captain, all kinds. And interesting thing I'll tell you, when it came to Empire, we had the provision that a technical officer could do taxi trials.
Okay.
So while doing the taxi trial and it went by aircraft, the legend has it that the aircraft got airborne.
Okay.
And there was only one thing to do, and that is to come back and land.
Come back and land.
So this is a great man. Great man.
Manage it. So we'll switch over to sixth squadron now because now you gone on to Liberators. Can you share your thoughts on the Liberator as it was used in the IAF and your first impressions of the aircraft?
Well, I'd already seen Liberator aircraft from BRD because most of the Liberator aircraft that were in the Air Force were done up at one BRD. That is the place where the Americans had destroyed most of the fleet, whatever was there. So I was aware, I was familiar with Liberator aircraft.
Did you get to fly this aircraft, sir, by any chance? And can you share memories of how this flight came about?
While I was in the 6th MR squadron, it so happened one aircraft from my squadron, while landing at Santa Cruz, went off the runway, rainy season, and one wheel got bogged down. So that runway was locked. So I went in the Liberator aircraft along with the same crew and motor equipment I could take later. We landed at Santa Cruz, and with the help of the local engineers and assistants that we got, we went to pull it out.
Okay, so from an engineer perspective, was it a noisy aircraft?
Well, I love the sound of Liberator aircraft.
Okay.
Like this
How noisy it was?
No, it was not even inside when I flew it. I didn't find it very noisy. I love the tune of the aircraft.
Now we switch on.
As they said about the Liberator aircraft, the joke was it's taxiing speed, takeoff speed, landing speed was just the same.
Okay, all three same. That's good, sir. Okay, now we switch on to Canberra, sir. Since this is the Canberra Association. I'm aware that you went to UK and one of the very few officers who had the privilege to do the courses there. What were the first impressions of the Canberra?
Well, it's a beauty. I was impressed and delighted to see the aircraft on ground, to see it take off, to see it landing. But the designer who designed nets as well, he did a good job on this beautiful aircraft to look at and beautiful aircraft to perform also. At that time there was hardly any aircraft which could get to that seating.
Yes. Did you get a chance to fly in the aircraft?
When I was at Agra, the Strategic Reconnaissance Squadron, SRS, JVCU was next door. I had a lot of association with JVCU. Undercarriage of Canberra aircraft had to be tested for gamma X-ray, and that facility was available only in Calcutta. So one aircraft had to be flown out to Barrackpur in a train. So in a trainer aircraft, I flew with Jaggi Mohan Nath. We landed Barrackpur, did the job, and returned. That's how I
Managed to. So you mentioned about Squadron KJ Bhimrao. Now, can you share thoughts on him? Any particular memories or interactions? Because he is well known among the Canberra fraternity.
Yes. I think before that he was known as a pilot who had force landed Dakota aircraft carrying Vallabhbhai Patel.
Yes, we are aware of that.
Yes, we are. So that's how I got to fame, and I was posted to one of his squadron. didn't exist, so everything had to start it from scratch. On the first day I went to see this commanding officer, he was not there. So I thought I could do something, collect material here and there. Then he came and tried to find where is my new aging officer. He didn't find. So as I was returning, he found me there and said, "Where the hell have you been loafing around?" I took great objection to it. I went close to him and said, "I've heard so much about you, but I don't know what I would have done to you." He said, "Whatever it is, you called me a loafer." I said, "Come on, come to my office." Then he explained how poor my English was. Loafing around didn't mean that you are a loafer. And that was the man who gave me exceptional report. He took so much liking for me. What a man he could forgive a young flight lieutenant talking to him.
And I think, sir, you mentioned somewhere in your among your write-ups about getting such good reports, and which was responsible for you to finally be selected for the course in UK.
Yes, that's correct. People used to wonder, you know, in a variety show, I did the mimicry of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru.
Yes, we've seen your photograph
Yes,
with a Nehru cap.
so I got the nickname. They now gave me the name Pandit.
Okay,
All
yeah.
I used to call me Pandit.
And I think that name has stuck with you, Panditji. So we now go to 1962 at Jalali. Where were you during the 62 war?
I was in Jalali, and since the Air Force was not involved directly, well, there was nothing that I could do.
Nothing much really.
Nothing.
What was the mood?
Except the tempo of training was increased. Instead of courses every 6 months, the courses were run every 3 months. So the tempo was increased.
Okay, so course was passing out earlier.
And I guess we were short of instructors.
Okay.
So I went to Satish Dhawan. He was the director of Science College.
Okay.
Science Institute, Bangalore. And he provided me qualified instructors in aerodynamics and structures to help me in the training.
Very nice, sir. Okay, after that, you were posted 3BRD Chandigarh. You were awarded the Vaisena Medal. Now, coming to the 71 war, can you share your experiences on the 3BRD posting? What was your primary role during the 71 conflict?
See, I was in Eastern Air Command as STSO when suddenly I got posting order to 3BRD. 3BRD was in a bad shape that time. Lot of aircraft, AN-12, Me-4 helicopters, IL-14, they were lined up for overhaul, and there was very little output, and the government was quite concerned. AVM and Marshal Malsey came and addressed us, 3BRD, just posted there. As I am ashamed, if nothing comes out of this, we'll have to pack these aircraft and send them to USSR. I stood up and asked him, I said, have you come only to speak or to listen also? He said, yes, what have you got to say? Let's go to CEO's office. I said, I will not give any running commentary on what I do. I will not waste my time. So I will not waste my time in putting graphs and charts and all that. I'll ask for the minimum. Give me a free hand. If I don't deliver, get me out. And he trusted me. and there was output much beyond the authorized task, and 3BRD came to limelight.
And that was the reason for your VM, I guess, huh?
Yes, that's ridiculous. I done that. I was put up for AVSM, and it was downgraded to VSM by maintenance headquarters maintenance command. And Master Malsi happened to be the chairman awards committee. When he saw it, he wrote nonsense. Let's give him vice element. Some people said, but he's not a flyer. He said, no, doesn't tend to be a flyer to get in VA. So what I happened to do this thing, and this aircraft I had never known, I never knew ABC of in 12 or NE4, Royal 14, and most of the officers who were trained in USSR happened to be my trainees in AFPC. I learned from them, picked up the job, and once I was so happy and proud. He's the one who got me. Yeah. He's the one who sent me to USSR with a team which had already been selected.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, I got a call from Air Marshal through my commanding officer to report to him. He says, leave your dog. Your daughter's marriage has taken place. I said, yes, it's over. He said, are you free? He says, I have a team of officers and technicians lined up to go to USSR for training to the overall of S-22 aircraft. Can you recall this job? You have to set a new VRD. So if you trust, I'll try my hand. That's how I went to USSR.
So then we'll talk about in the next question. Yeah. But we'll call off this in the first part of the interview now. I think we all require a little break, and so we'll continue after this.